This afternoon at about 1 p.m, I really felt like riding my bike. The weather is so nice now and I love being alone in the woods, away from everyone. It's so perfect. I pack up a notebook, a pen, always on hand in case of inspiration, and a big bottle of water and headed off into the woods. The opening is so tiny against a vast, dense forest, you have to know exactly where it is to find it. It always seems spooky and mystical because it's just this black, almost doorway-looking void amidst this mountain of trees and underbrush. I speed down the hill as usual, and in a couple of seconds reach the crossroads. One goes forward into the thickest part of the forest, the left goes into the city and highway, and the right goes out into the open, endless fields and farmland, with a big patch of forest spread throughout. I sat there for a bit, took a swig of water, and headed right. I haven't been out very far past the fields before, and I have a day to kill, so I keep going and going and going, past the open fields and the huge pastures, past the familiar broken down railroad checkpoint, or whatever it is, past the one single house that lies just outside of the trail, past the huge rusting metal bridge. So I'm out and going and going and going, and eventually I see a beware sign nailed to a tree, then another, then a couple altogether nailed to an old busted phone line, and finally a huge wooden barricade that says, "Stay out." The thing was already pushed partially out of the way, like someone had been in before me. And being the rebel that I am, I just had to see what was back there, something I soon came to regret. So I'm riding again, and the forest is far thicker than before. On each side of the trail, about 4 inches out, it drops right off, steep as fuck and deadly, that's for sure. Immediately after this realisation, I come upon an opening, finally. Down below it's now swampy and dark. The trees are far and few between and rise out of these deep dark pools of water. I'm creeped out at this point. It's eerie as fuck out here. I'm totally alone and I'm getting tired. I start crossing this very sketchy old wooden bridge, slowly, and then hear this deep, low grumble and immediately pause. Nothing but eerie empty silence, not a fucking sound all around me. I then carefully start again and realise it's just my flat tire. The fucking thing has gone flat. I have no idea how I didn't realise this earlier, at any point in my trip. I mean, it's totally and utterly dead. Then I hear this dreadful fucking blood-curdling scream tear through silence. I'm fucking teary-eyed and have goosebumps as I tell this. I am frozen. I have no idea what it was, no idea where it was, and all the fucking times my tire is fucking flat as a 9-year-old Chinese boy. A stick breaks, and I immediately whip my bike around and start pedaling my fucking ass off. All of a sudden I start hearing shit crashing in the woods, and I don't dare fucking look out there. I'm swerving all over this shitty trail because it's covered in pebbles, holes, cracks, broken branches, and all kinds of other shit that can all totally kill me at this speed. And somehow, before I didn't see these clumps of white stringy fur all caught in the trees along the trail. The sounds of something racing through this dense, thick bush are so loud I can hear it over my horrendously obnoxious flat tire, squishing and squashing on the ground as I'm almost spinning the chain off the gear. At this point, a million things are racing through my mind. My legs are absolutely burning from riding so far out in the woods. I swerved right on the edge of the trail, and the sandy pebble shit went flying out into the trees, jumped over a huge pothole, and heard another loud-ass scream. That didn't even faze me at this point. I'm just pounding my legs, breathing so hard my chest hurts, and waiting for my tire to explode at any moment, and to finally get eaten by whatever the fuck is chasing me. I just missed the barricade, literally centimetres from crashing head first into the thing. Finally I see a light off into the distance. I'm close to getting back on the fields and back towards home. I'm filled with a new wind of energy and kick it into hyperdrive now. The sounds of crashing are now getting softer, slower, then stop. I fucking made it. I finally made it. I zoom right out into the sunlight. I've never been happier in my fucking life to feel the sun in my eyes. At that moment, I just stop. The fatigue just immediately hits me like a wave. I'm dead fucking tired and couldn't move another inch. I turned my head around to look back at whatever the fuck was there, and in the darkness, I see 2 red, burning eyes just staring right at me. I felt my entire body go cold. Then in a flash, they were gone. I rode back fast as I could, but eventually slowed down and crawled my way all the way back. I downed what little bit of water I had left, and even though it was hot, I wasn't sweating one drop. I was literally frozen from that stare. Back in 2012, we always had bonfires every night. I'm in the Marine Corps Reserve, so while I'm at home, I work as an Ohio State Trooper. Anyways, a bunch of my buddies and I were having a bonfire. We got everyone at my house around 7 p.m, then loaded them up into our vehicles. One was a Chevy Suburban, a Jeep Wrangler, and a Ford 350. The spot where we have our bonfire was a mile back on my land. There's this dirt path we take down to the cabin. It starts out as going in between two fields, then through the woods, then dead ends at our cabin, which overlooks a creek, then eventually dumps into a river. We had about 24 people packed into the 3 vehicles and shit. The Suburban is mine, so we set off. Driving through the woods wasn't a big deal, but as soon as we got to the area, I stepped out of my vehicle and could smell this god-awful smell. Death. It smelt like death, like an animal of some sort was rotting in the woods somewhere. Everyone else said they could smell it too, so I didn't think anything of it. Maybe a dead deer or something that someone shot and couldn't find it. It was the end of September, so hunting season had started. I started the fire and didn't think too much of the smell. We all eventually got used to it. We played beer pong and had a generator going to power the cabin. So a friend of mine, Ryan, had been telling me that the girl I had brought with me kept asking shit about me to him, saying how much of a gentleman I was, so I knew that night I was going to get laid. Fuck yes. Anyway, the fire was dying down, so Ryan was going to get wood with a few buddies of mine. I had them take a radio with them, to radio me if they needed help. The fire started getting real low. It had been about 30 minutes since they had left. "Hey, where the fuck's you faggots at?" I asked over the radio. "Dude, chill, I'm on my way," Ryan responded. They came back later with a fuck ton of wood, got the fire going again. Then eventually it started to get late. People wanted to start going home, so after everyone left, only 8 of us remained. The girl I liked, Sarah, Ryan, David, another guy, and 3 other girls. David, the other guy, and the girls were wasted as fuck, and were all flirting with each other. I continued to chill at the fire, with Sarah and Ryan talking about random shit. It started to get real late. Around 2 a.m. is when the 3 girls, David and the other guy, went to lay down in the cabin. Sarah and I stayed outside and talked for a while. Eventually we started making out. I stopped when I heard this cracking sound outside. I looked over and could make out a figure walking around near the tree line. "Hey, you! What are you doing over there?" I asked. "Dude, chill. I'm on my way," the figure responded. It sounded like Ryan, but I swore Ryan had been in the cabin. Maybe he walked out when I was occupied, but he didn't make sense. "What?" I asked. "Dude, chill, I'm on my way," it responded again. My hair started to raise up on my neck. "The fuck?" Sarah responded. "Sarah, go inside and wake everyone up," I responded. She didn't hesitate. I walked over to my SUV and popped the trunk and grabbed an AR-15. For some reason I was shaking and the death smell was back again. "What the fuck?" I whispered to myself, shoving the mag into the rifle and sending a round into the chamber. I walked around the SUV to where I saw the figure in the woods and couldn't see it. About this time, Ryan walked out of the cabin and looked at me like I was fucking stupid. "Dude, why have you got a gun?" he asked. "Were you out in the woods?" I asked him. He told me he'd just woken up and had no idea what I was talking about. I told him to take everyone back to their cars and come back with a gun. He got everyone into my SUV and drove off. I sat there by the fire, looking around me. I had a spotlight by my side, the 1 million candlewatt power ones. I couldn't help but think it was something playing a trick on me, but living 8 miles away from a prison, you can't really be too sure. The death smell was starting to get almost repugnant. I almost felt like gagging. I heard something walk through the woods again. I grabbed the spotlight and stood up. I waited for a moment, then I saw it again. The figure walked out of the woods and stood there looking at me. I flipped on the light at it. Its back was turned towards me, staring into the woods. "Hey, I got a fucking gun. You might want to tell me who the fuck you are before I lay your ass out right now." Not a single word came out of the person's mouth. "Motherfucker." I started to walk closer. "Dude, why do you have a gun?" the person asked. "Because I stopped mid-sentence. I started to think about what it said, and what Ryan said. It was mimicking Ryan. It repeated it again. This time it sounded just like Ryan. I raised the rifle and sighted it on the guy. "Ryan?" I asked. Its neck shifted a bit, then twitched its whole body. It looked unnatural. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something about the man looked wrong. I heard music playing in the background, and I could see headlights coming through the woods. "Who are you?" I asked. The figure turned around and looked at me. Its facial features were off. It looked like the other guy that was with Ryan, but its voice sounded just like Ryan's, and it stared at me, with its mouth gaped open. "Who the fuck are you?" I shouted, flipping my rifle off safe. Something in the fire snapped and made a loud noise, so I flipped around to see what was behind me, then snapped back to where the person was standing. It was gone. "Fuck!" I shouted, looking around for him. But this time Ryan was parking the Suburban and getting out and putting a pistol in his back waistband. "Dude, what's going on?" he asked. I started to fill him in on everything, then asked him if everyone was with him. He told me everyone in the cabin was in that SUV. The other guys, Sarah, and the 3 girls. We sat by the fire and started waiting. The death smell had went away for the time being. It was around 4 a.m. now. Sunlight should be coming in just a few hours. At that time, the death smell had came back, this time stronger than ever, to the point Ryan gagged and almost threw up. I got up and looked around, waiting to see the figure again. A few moments passed and I could see something on the ground coming out of the woods. I turned on my spotlight and shined it at the figure. The man, who I'd seen before, was on the ground, rolling around. "What the fuck is that?" Ryan asked, pulling his pistol out. We both stared at the man rolling around for a good 20 minutes, then stopped and laid there on the ground. The fire outside illuminated the figure through the window on the door. I could see it standing there, twitching. Sunrise started to come. I could see the figure walk away from the cabin. I ran up and opened the door and walked outside. By this time, the sun was starting to come up, but it was still hard to see anything outside except for the man. The man was walking towards the woods, twitching and shaking. "Hey!" I shouted, drawing my rifle on the man. The figure stopped and looked at me. I fired a round straight into its head. I seen the man drop like a rock on the ground and start twitching. "Fuck you!" I shouted, and kept a beat on him, waiting for the twitching to stop. What happened next I couldn't explain. The man stood up and started walking into the woods like nothing happened. I lowered my rifle and watched as he made it to the tree line and turned around and looked at us. I didn't see any wound from him, nothing. His face was completely untouched. The death smell went away. I couldn't smell it anymore. The man smiled at us and walked into the woods again. By that time, we ran to the SUV, got in, and got the fuck out of Dodge. We never spoke of what happened to anyone in fear they'd think we were mental. I've been back to the place countless times now, but I cannot seem to smell the death smell or see anything unusual anymore. I'm not sure if the Goatman, Skinwalker, ghost thing has gone away, or it's moved somewhere else. Who knows?